Good morning. Can you hear me clearly?
Good morning.
Wonderful to see you. I'm going to move this a little bit because I like to move. So, I came up with this topic of the power of surrender. It came to me intuitively one day. And it's kind of an interesting title because on planet Earth, I think there's a lot of people that we know that are in positions of power. And the last thing that they would think about doing is surrendering it. Would you agree? And I think we can think about a lot of people that would see the concepts of surrender as not a concept of power. Would you agree with that as well? So it's kind of really interesting. And when I look back at my 40-something odd years of life and all the pain and all the struggle and all the triumph and challenge that I've had, and I think about all the people's lives that I've been able to come alongside and help to bring about powerful manifestations in their life, what I've come to realize that the more one surrenders control, the more one gains control. And I think we all know in unity the kind of surrender that we're talking about is letting go and letting God and letting the divinity within kind of take over. Okay? I think we all love fall in New England, don't we? And we love eating apple pies, and we love going pumpkin picking, and we love watching the Patriots win over and over and over again. At least, hopefully, mostly Patriots fans here. And, we love the foliage and taking walks and seeing all the different changes of colors of the trees. But there's one thing that we all don't like doing in the fall. What is that? Raking leaves. Okay. So I live in Bolton, Mass, okay, and I've got about 100 trees in my yard, which deposit what seems like a gazillion. I'm not even sure that's a word, but it's a gazillion leaves in my yard. And for the last 3 or 4 falls, what I would do is I would rake and lose what seemed like 7 or 8 weekend days in the fall, raking the same leaves over and over and over. And I don't know if you guys can resonate with them. Now, I've never had this kind of guy's love affair with tools. I never really quite got that. I'm not really a handyman. That's not how I'm gifted. But that all changed last October. Because I said, I'm done raking leaves, and I got this Husqvarna 50cc leaf blower. And let me tell you, this thing's awesome. And I blow it, and the leaves go about 30 feet this way, and I blow it again, and I'm getting excited talking about it right now. But, commanding Mother Nature to move those leaves and to do my will. Awesome. So it's an October day. It's about noontime. My wife comes up to me and she says, Chris, we've got company coming over at 5. I need to quickly go ahead and get those leaves done. No problem. I've got my Husqvarna, no big deal. So it's a little bit of a breezy day, but I'm blowing the leaves and I'm blowing the leaves, and I get right to the edge of the forest. And I blow the leaves, and of course you guys know what's going to happen here, right? I blow the leaves, and it's almost like the forest has this invisible force field, where all of a sudden, has anyone ever happened to someone? The leaves just start spiraling upward, and they land back on top of me. And so I blow it into the forest again, and the leaves cascade down on top of me. And I do what most typical people do when they're not getting the result they want. I just keep doing it the same way and force it again. So I force it again, and Mother Nature's looking at me going, you gotta be kidding. So I eat another leaf sandwich, and as each time I eat a new leaf sandwich, what do you think's happening? I'm getting more and more angry. And I keep doing the same thing, and I get angry over and over and over again. And now I've wasted about half an hour, and I realize, you know what, I gotta get these leaves done. And so what did I do? Okay. There's got to be a different way to blow these leaves into the forest. And so what I did was I adjusted the angle in which I was working with the wind, and I blew them kind of sideways, and I got in. Now, I'm not going to lie. The average person would have probably figured this out 20 minutes before I did. But let's not kill the story. The idea is that I had to get quiet and get centered and trust that there was a different way. Anyone here ever lost their keys and get really upset about it? Has that happened to anyone here? No, never. Okay, and why is it that when we lose our keys, we're always in a hurry? Why do we never lose our keys when we have tons of free time? All right, is this just me? All right, so it's Murphy's Law, right? So you lose your keys, and you've got, what 2 or 3 places that you typically hold your keys. So you go to the first place, and the keys aren't there. Okay, you're not that worried. You go to the second place, the keys are not there. Now you're getting a little worried. You're getting a little concerned. You go to the third place, they're not there. You're now in full panic mode. All right? And you're looking around and you're getting more and more frustrated, more and more worried. Where are my keys? Where are my keys? Now you're late for work. and you're super frustrated, right? And has anyone ever had an adult temper tantrum to the point where you're like, where are my keys? You know, am I the only one that tantrums here? No. Okay. All right. So you have that tantrum, and then do you find the keys while you're having the tantrum? Yes or no? Okay. What do you need to do? Deep breath. The keys are here somewhere. And then one of two things happen. You find the keys literally right on the shelf, right in front of you, but you couldn't see it because you were so darn angry. Right? Or the second, you look for it. All of a sudden, you're intuitively led to some obscure place, like underneath the couch behind the couch leg, that you would never have your keys, but somehow miraculously it's there. Can you resonate with what I'm saying? All right. So sometimes what we try to do is we try to force results in our lives to get more control. I'm going to give you a couple more examples. I work with a lot of salespeople and entrepreneurs, and some of them come to me, they're not getting the financial results that they want in their life. And they've had a string of a couple of months where life hasn't gone their way and they're not financially succeeding. And a person who's not financially succeeding, what they do is they begin to observe that lack of financial success and they start having a lack mentality. Now, have you ever been in a situation where you've been purchasing a car? Everyone's purchased a car here. You've gone into a car dealership. You ever been around somebody a salesperson who's trying to get you over the line? Has anyone ever been on the receiving end of that? Yeah? Where you can feel like they really need your sale? What do? When a person comes at you with that kind of energy, what do you want to do? You want to back away. Why? Because you don't want to be controlled, right? That doesn't feel good. The kind of salesperson you want to work with is someone who offers you value, gives you some facts, and then takes a step back, right? And they convey to you, I don't really need your sale. I'm excited to have your sale, but it's all good. And of course, you're going to want to give that person business. There's a lot of people in life that try to force results in their life. And they say, you know what, I'm not getting the result I want, so I'm going to start working harder. Right? Does anyone know someone who's worked really hard and not getting the results that they want? Yeah. Because in unity, we know that thoughts create things. There's a spiritual law of cause and effect, that every effect that happens or circumstance that happens in our lives has a cause. And that cause is in our thought. So if I'm holding positive thoughts over and over and over and over again, I'm going to be a positive emotional state. I'm going to be a place of expectation, a place of excitement. When I'm in that positive emotional state, guess what? I'm taking faith-filled action. Right? I'm stepping out and I'm stepping off a cliff and believing that I have wings to fly. I'm walking over an obstacle, under an obstacle, around an obstacle, through an obstacle. And because I'm taking those faith-filled, inspired actions, guess what? I'm getting the results I want. Conversely speaking, if you think about it, if you've ever had a negative thought over and over and over and over and over again, and it puts you in a negative emotional state, let me ask you, how many people here can reach for inspiration when you're in a state of depression or frustration? It's impossible. And so what is the action you take when you're in that emotional state? It's one of fear. It's one of doubt. It's one of worry. And guess what? You don't get the results that you deserve. All right? Your thoughts create your things, right? So it's the thoughts that create the results. Or how about, have we ever tried to force another person to change in our lives? You know, if this person behaved in this way, if they felt in this way, if they acted in this way, then I would feel better. So how's that experiment going in our lives? We've all tried to change another person. How's that worked out for all of us? Not too good, right? People don't want to be changed in that way. We try to force results out those ways. So all three of those have one thing in common. We're trying to force a result. We receive resistance, and we don't get what we want. In fact, the harder we push, the harder the resistance comes, right? But the resistance is actually not coming from other individuals. The resistance is within ourselves. The only true obstacles we have are the ones that we create in our mind. So how do we go from the state of resisting what we want subconsciously to a place of allowing? And it's about letting go and letting God, right? It's about letting the Spirit within take over. So how do we do that? So I'm going to give you a couple of intentional ways we did it. I want to bring you back to the story about the leaves and the keys. Do you remember what I had to do? What was the first thing I had to do? Breathe. And I breathed. When I breathed, I came to peace with what was. Okay? It's impossible to pivot to something new if you don't first come to peace with where things are right now. Very, very important. The second thing that I had to do, what did I do after I breathed? I changed direction. I changed direction in my thought, didn't I? I affirmed a new truth. And we're connected to that God power inside of us, right? We have divinity flowing through us. In other words, there's no separation between us and God. So we have in every moment access to unlimited guidance, wisdom, strength, support, knowledge. But a lot of times, and just like me in the woods, I wasn't inviting God into that situation. I thought, you know what, I'm going to get this thing through, and those leaves are going in my way. And what I had to do is I had to surrender. I had to affirm a new truth. And isn't it funny, when we affirm a new truth, all of a sudden we're led to the answers. If there's anyone in this room right now that is struggling in any kind of way or feeling stuck, I want to encourage you, I want to pass on one central message to you. To get out of the land of stuckness, you've got to stop focus on being stuck. You've got to stop telling the story of being stuck. You've got to stop saying that you're stuck. And I know this because I have an expertise in the land of stuckness. Okay? PhD. All right. You've got to affirm that you know the answers before you have the answers. Does that make any sense? Because what you're doing is you're acknowledging that the divinity flows within you and the answers are coming. And I assure you, you continue to do that, the answers will come. The next thing I do to surrender more intentionally to God, okay, is I say a powerful affirmation as part of my daily journey. Thank you, God, for leading me to the right people, the right resources, the right opportunities, the right situations in my day. And the more I do that, the more and more I'm gently led in the right direction because I've affirmed it to be so. Okay? The next thing I do to surrender is I breathe God into my day, and I encourage you to breathe God into your day. So what does that look like? What does breathing God mean? So I take a look at my calendar on a Monday morning, and I say, thank you, God, because I have an amazing client appointment with this person, and she's going to have some massive takeaways, and you're going to help me to hear her with your ears and to help her to see her with your eyes and to help to speak with your voice. In other words, I'm surrendering that meeting to God and saying, here, take it over. And then I'm going to have a client appointment at 11 o'clock, and this person might come with me and be part of my business. If it's right for this person to join and be part of my business, that's awesome. And if not, I want to send her love and light and just wish her well. In other words, I've let go of the outcome. And I've said, God, you take over the outcome. All right? So it's no longer is it ego-led, it's spirit-led. And thank you, God, because at 12 noon, I'm going to have a lunch meeting with my wife, and it's going to be awesome. We're going to love each other, and there's going to be harmony. We're going to have good conversation. Do you see where I'm going with this? I'm breathing God into every aspect of my day. Now, I'm not going to lie. Do my days go perfectly? No, they don't. And when they don't go my way, I'm able to gently brush it off my shoulder just because I've expected that the day is going to go well. But I will assure you that your days will go much more in alignment with what you want because I'm expecting that it will. It just as you would expect that you will. All right? So just a couple other things real quick. Obviously, another great way of surrendering is to see God as the financial source of supply. And I've struggled a lot financially in my life. I've struggled financially in my business in the past. And it wasn't until I fully said, God, you're the source of my supply. I don't need this particular client to come to me for them to be my financial source of supply. I got to trust that you have all sorts of different ways that you could bring revenue to me. All right, so surrendering and seeing God as the source of supply is hugely important if you want more financial abundance. Obviously, meditating. We have some expert meditators in this room. And so those who meditate constantly, you know what I'm talking about. It gets rid of that mental clutter, and it helps us to hear those messages that God is constantly speaking to us through our intuition. I love what Wayne Dyer once said. He said, you know what? Prayer is when we speak to God, and intuition is when God speaks to us. And Nancy, you said something that I just want to hit on. You said, thank you, God, for this or something better. That's I don't know if you remember saying that, but it was a very, very powerful thing that you said. Because sometimes in our lives, we're going in a particular direction. We want a particular result. And when you say, thank you, I'm so happy and grateful, God, because you're giving me this particular result in my life. And then you followed up with, thank you, God, for this or something better. What you're doing is you're inviting God's will to take over. So if there's a better way of doing it, if there's a better purpose I could be pursuing, if there's a better direction I can take, I know you will reveal it to me. But because I've done that, I'm surrendered to God's will, not my will. Then I can trust in myself and the intuitive messages I'm getting. All right? And I just know that I'll be redirected if there's a better way of going. Does that make sense? And finally, the way of surrendering is by really having the faith. I think one of the challenges we have in unity and this movement is that we know these universal principles and truths. We know about the power of affirmation. We know about the power of visualization. We know about the power of dream boards and all of those things. But if we affirm those things in the morning, and stop believing in the afternoon, we're undermining ourselves. Would you agree? And conversely speaking, if we're taking the right action, but we're not affirming it and cultivating faith through our affirmations, we're also undermining ourselves. So I think what God's encouraging all of us to do is we determine the result that we want, and then we affirm it as true, and we act as if it's true, and we affirm it as true, and we act as if it's true, and we affirm it as true, and we act as if it's true, and over time, that goal will be manifest. So as I close, I want you to think about, is there an area of your life where you could surrender more intentionally to God? Let God into that situation. I love the spiritual acronym for ego. Ego is when we edge God out and we're not letting him in. All right, that's all we need to do is to let God in and take over, because God is the one true sense of certainty in our lives. I thank you so much for your time, and may God richly bless you and your families. Thank you.
You have been watching the message from our Sunday celebration service here at Unity on Cape Cod, providing a positive path for spiritual living. Please join us every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. at 147 Walton Ave, Hyannis, Mass. And visit us online at www.unityoncapecod.org.